All right. Welcome in. Now we are live. How are you doing all? Everything fine? Benetzi, you got. Oh, nee, it was not you. It was Triggy with the Crypto Moonshots post because I saw Striggy a little bit struggling with CMS repeatedly deleting his post. All right, but never mind. How are we doing today? Today, quick fundamental scoop through, as usual. Just waiting a few seconds. And after the fundamentals, another meeting coming up. Pretty stuffed day today. All right. Is everything running? Screen share is running. Everything should look totally fine. Perfect. All right. Then let us dive straight into the fundamentals. So let me adjust everything. yeah. Need to, otherwise we run into some time issues today. So quick fundamentals. Let's just jump right into it. Tokenomics, as usual, starting off with the tax. We have a 15% tax in total. Or not in total, but flat tax of 15%. This means 15% buy, 15% sell. And this splits up into 8% reflection in PEG BUSD. So basically this is what you are getting rewarded in by simply holding the token banks in your wallet. You don't need to do anything for it. You will receive it automatically. The way this works is the contract is collecting our token automatically. It collects until a certain threshold of 150 billion. And once it reached the 150 billion, the next cell appearing will trigger the contract cell. With the contract cell, our contract is basically selling off the banks it collected and then proceeds to buy BUSD, which he is then able to distribute to every single holder out there. Or let's say the distribution also is tied to transactions happening. I think currently, I didn't check it yet, let's say roughly 10 holders receive their BUSD rewards with every single transaction happening. There's a reason that you set this contract cell at a actual cell appearing and not at a buy appearing, because you do not want to disturb a possible green wall, for example, if the chart is rising currently. So this is why you set it at a actual cell happening. This is also the reason when you see in Dextools, either it's 3 or 4 cells in a row appearing. This is the actual contract cell, all by the same wallet address there. All right, so this for the BUSD distribution part. Important fact here, you don't need to manually claim them. You can manually claim them through our dashboard by connecting to it, but you don't need to do this actually. I wouldn't advise to do it in total, because you would have to pay the gas fees yourself. Then proceeding with the tax, we have 4% used for marketing and our community fund. We have 2% used for manual buyback and burns. So basically this wallet is collecting BNBs over time, and we then proceed to buy back our own token, the bank's token, and currently just doing it in smaller transactions and collecting the tokens up for a upcoming burn. 1% here is automatically added into liquidity. Pretty important part here, because you need the liquidity pool to reach a let's say healthy status. If the liquidity pool is too low, you will see actual buy and sells having too much impact on the chart. But then again, if the liquidity is getting too high, you will see a very hard time for the chart to move. For the liquidity, let me take this here. because this is also something, let's say, pretty important. So for the actual liquidity, you can see, say, the rough facts, for example, here in Dextools at the side. Important part here are the pooled wrapped BNB. So basically our token is paired with BNB directly. So if BNB moves itself, right, so if it rises in price, you will see our chart rising with it automatically because our liquidity is increasing. If you see BNB falling, you will see the counterpart happening as well. Now the important part about the liquidity. As we can see here, 212 BNB pooled as liquidity actually, and this is a very good status we are sitting on currently, right? It needs to still be more as from the percentage side from the actual pooled rep BNB compared to the market cap. But then again, if we compare it, for example, to the all-time high, so at the all-time high of roughly 12.5 million, we have been facing a liquidity of roughly 480 pooled rep BNB. About this number, right? Don't pin me on this number. But then again, as you can see, with almost, let's say with 12 times the market cap, we only had double the liquidity of actual BNB. This was a very, very critical status. And I have to say, I was already getting concerned because the chart was rising way too fast in this vertical way up, which is not bad at all. We all love such charts, right? But then again, this is also a very, very dangerous situation you're getting into as an actual project, because the liquidity is just reaching a very critical status there. So basically, very good liquidity we are sitting on right now, especially compared to our all-time high liquidity. But then again, this tax of 1% is automatically adding BNB into our liquidity pool. So you see this getting more and more healthy over time. Very important here, because you need this to actually happen. All right, this for the liquidity parts. Keep in mind, every single transaction is getting taxed. So either it is a transfer, a buy, a sell, doesn't matter. If you want to make an actual transfer, we had this in the past already plenty of times. For example, you want to send a friend, for example, banks, or you want to move them to a cold storage, as for example a ledger, you can just let us know. We can make this transaction tax-free. Another thing, because I also got this question like plenty of times already. Yes, you can store your banks on a ledger. You won't see them on Ledger Live, because Ledger Live is a, let's say it's only allowing very, very, very big projects on there. But then again, you can connect your ledger to, for example, MetaMask, and then you are able to just use it as a normal wallet, and you will still receive all your reflections there. Just as a quick side fact here. All right, so let's switch back a second. Where is it? All right. So for BD Capital and the token banker stream itself, what is the goal? What are we trying to achieve here? We are aiming for passive income, right? The first stream of passive income is, of course, the token itself. With the actual BUSD rewards, the main problem of a reward token is that you are always dependent on the trade volume. So if you face lower trade volume days, as we are doing right now, you will see less BUSD rewards actually getting distributed. And this is something which is also the main problem of a reward token, because a reward token is not able to sustain itself by just simply being a reward token, right? You need to add some form of utility to it, otherwise it cannot maintain itself. So now our main goal is passive income. So what are we doing to achieve this passive income? Multiple things. One part is our fund, right? So in this fund, we as a community, we are investing into various different projects. Now most likely, if the poll is positive for it, also in property on the metaverse, and all kind of different stuff which is generating passive income for us. Keep in mind, actually growing such a fund is time, or let's say, is a time thing to happen. You need the actual volume for it, for the fund to have the money to invest it, right? This is very important. The way this works with from the investment perspective, we as a team, we are collecting, for example, suggestions from the community. We are keeping our eyes peeled out for nice upcoming projects, for existing projects. And once we are done with our vetting process, which is basically a screen, if we consider the project as safe with some long-term potential in it and with a, let's say, healthy community attached to it, once we give this a positive check, we will then open this project for a poll. In this poll, every single bank holder is qualified to actually take a vote. And then, of course, it's just which decision gets more votes there. Then we decide as a community if we want to add this investment case to the portfolio of Bankers Whale. If you want more details for the fund itself, best way to do so is to actually hop onto a fund AMA. We have a specialized AMA only for the fund. This is again happening tomorrow. If you have any suggestions for the fund, just drop them to us, and we can take a look at them. Just keep in mind, it's quite hard to keep up with every single suggestion there for the fund. One rather, let's say, exciting part which we are working on at the moment, I guess most of you heard it already flowing around in the chat somewhere. We are actually working to structure this fund as a roof fund. So what does this mean? As a roof fund, you are basically, as the company, as the fund itself, one of the main shareholders in another project or business. Very interesting, because this gives us a risk-free way to get, let's say, the main amount of tokens or shares for a project as the fund without investing money to it. So how does this work? We as a team, we said we will give this a, you could say, kind of a test run in which we exchange our time to actively help to manage another upcoming project. And in exchange for the time and the experience and the connections and everything, the fund is receiving kind of a team vesting there. Exciting part, since it's risk-free for us bankers, or let's say every single bank holder out there. If this project is successful, you will see the fund receiving a very big boost, and also, since it will be also passive income orientated in some form, also driving up the actual yield of the fund, which is the main point. Why did we choose to actually do so? Because we are very aware of the fact that we want, or we need, not only we want, but we need to get this fund going, right? We need the capital in the fund, we need the actual yield to be able to distribute the yield and show the people out there, hey, this is working, we are actually distributing money from the fund, right? So from the technical side, it is not very complicated, but then again, you will see a lot of attention coming onto our token once the fund is able to do so. Now, another very exciting part, right? If this strategy works out, which is a very, very exciting part. This is kind of a test run, right? Of course, there is a limit for our time as well. But then again, the BD Capital team itself is growing, let's say, consistently. We are, you could say, recruiting new team members once the time says, as I say, it's needed now for us to recruit more people. And the way this works is we are taking kind of this, wouldn't say advisory role in the new project, We are actively managing it with other people as well, but then again, not being the main faces, right? So from the bank side, you do not need to fear anything. We won't cut our time for BD Capital short for this new project, right? This is just a kind of time management we need to do as a team. So nothing at all will change, right? The development side won't change. We are still working on the crowd sale and private sale platform, which will then evolve into a launchpad. We are still working on everything else in the background, and we will still have our daily AMAs as usual in BD Capital. So nothing will change from this side. But for the fund, for us as a community, this is a pretty big risk-free option to grow the fund and to give the fund a boost. Very, very exciting part. And now think about the future, right? Because this is a structure which pretty big investment companies run, right, in the real world out there. They basically get into a company as the main shareholder. They have a lot of influence, of course, in this company as well as the main shareholder. And of course, they are receiving a lot of the yield which is generated there. So this is one of the basic strategies for big investment companies to build such a form of a roof fund, right? And you can always continue to do so, right? So as I think, yes, it was Hold Retire who posted this in his take of the idea. So he's pretty excited about the idea. But he also says this brings a lot of attention, right? Because you need to think about two different things here. We are doxed. This is thing number one. And we are known that we are not pulling off any shady stuff. And we are known for our transparency as a dev team. These are pretty big bonus points in the crypto space, as we can see. People can also see we can run a project, right? Even in a red market, we are not abandoning the project and everything. So we are a very, very consistent team from this side, right? Not just saying, this gets boring now. We are just abandoning it for the moment. Not doing this kind of stuff, right? And having such people on the, let's say, for example, on the board for a new project, this helps tremendously, right? You have a pre-established community already, and this makes the things more easy, right? Have you calculated the shareholding that BD Capital will be gifted from the new project? It would be nice to say it was gifted, but I can tell you a lot of time is also flowing, of course, into it. But it will be, so don't pin me on this one, but it will be around the 5 to 10% mark. Because the calculations, the actual calculations are not done for this, we call it always Project X. Calculations are not done, but this is even if it's 5% or 10%, it matters a lot, of course, but in the end, both are very, very big shareholdings there, right? It's only possible for the fund itself, because this fund will also not sell off or dump on Project X, right? This is one big plus for the project itself. Right? It just needs to be explained also for the people in Project X in a clear way, that there is this holder, which is the fund, but no harm is coming from this fund, right? This is a important part here. But then again, if you wanted to achieve such wallet sizes, even in ICOs, right, you would need to pay decent amounts of money there, unless you're going for a very, very, very low cap project there, which is not the intention behind Project X. But yeah, this is basically the best thing about it, right? We are not risking any money from BD Capital still. The fund is participating heavily in this project, and this makes it very, very interesting. Very interesting. But then, of course, the thing which we are exchanging as a team is our time. But then again, since nothing is changing for BD Capital itself, nothing to actually fear about, right? Now think of this is always the thing. Why is this so interesting for BD Capital? If this is successful, right, You can do this 2 times, 3 times, 4 times. If you are actually growing in team members and everything, you do not really have a limit for it. Of course, there's always the time limit, but you can compensate the time limit with getting more and more skilled people in, right? This is the intention behind it. With this, the fund can participate heavily in different projects, and this is what makes this idea very, very, very interesting for the fund. Just think about it for a second, right? We are not dependent on the trade volume. Of course, trade volume overall in banks is very important, but then again, we are not dependent on the trade volume to grow the fund actually. But then again, if you are able to grow it through this method, you will see more trade volume coming back in, because the fund is then able to pay out bigger amounts of yield. The people are able to see, hey, this concept is working, right? The fund is holding decent amounts of money. And big thing number 3 is we are not stopping the usual investment method for the fund, right? Because we do not need to actually risk any money. For example, the normal way would be if you wanted to acquire bigger shareholdings of an ICO, for example, the normal way would be, all right, we are choosing an ICO and we are risking the money in a, let's say, very, very risky investment. Since it is a ICO, we are risking this money and let's just say hoping on the traction of this ICO and the skills of the team, right? This would be the normal method. But then again, we can still use our normal investment plan. We can proceed with our polls since the fund is not needed to pay any money there. And this makes this very, very interesting here. So just keep this in mind. But of course, we will drop the informations for this Project X. Once we acquired everything, we are dropping them into the chat as well, of course. One benefit as a actual, let's say, community member of banks, you are able to participate, for example, in the seed round, which is like basically the earliest investment stage you could have in a project. And this is a very, very interesting part as well. Then again, 2 completely separated projects. The fund is just the main shareholder, and we as a team, we are on the board of this Project X. So very, very interesting part here. All right. So I can't just keep this in mind. I cannot give out like any precise details yet for this Project X, because it is still in the very, very early stage, right? Still in the very early stage, just working. Let's say the most important part still is getting the actual team together for this Project X. And another very important part is, of course, crafting the idea behind it. Will it be part of the contract that other... Whoa. Will it be part of the contract that other wallets can't hold more than BD Capital? Yes. You can implement such a function, for example, if you are restricting the wallet size, for example, restricting the wallet size to 2%, right? So no wallet can hold more than 2%. You can accept specific wallets from this, but then again, no other wallet will be able to hold more than this, right? This is also an important part here. This is just precisely for the fund itself. He's like this exception, right? Because you wouldn't want like 3 holders holding in total 30%, and 2 of these holders are just random individuals out there which just went or came there and invested a lot of money in the project. This is not something which you want to have actually in a project. So yes, it will be, as you say it right here, part of the contract, so no one else is able to hold as nearly as much as the fund. This is just for the fund, because this is also the only wallet which we can guarantee is not coming any harm of, right? Because we are in direct control of this wallet. And this is a very, very important part here. You also need to keep not only BD Capital, but if you're involved in Project X, you need to also keep Project X safe, right? Doesn't matter which project you're involved in, you always want to keep it as safe as possible for the people. I think this is very clever and exciting for BD Capital and the community. Well done, guys. I'm also on this side. I think this is because, as we can see right now, right? Progress is like dependent on the actual fund growth. Progress is dependent on the development. So the development part is paid already and they are working on it, right? So it's just from the development team side that they need to figure everything out. But now for the fund part, the fund is of course kind of dependent on the volume. Now a lot of people after the early stage of a project is done, this is a normal cycle you will see this early spike in the hype coming, then you will see a sell-off happening in which people take profits, which is not bad at all, right? And then from this stage on, which we are sitting on currently, of course the market is also pounding on top of it, but at this stage people are waiting for the actual development as well, right? They want working utilities, so you are like definitely moving away from this you could say shit token side of things, right? Which we definitely want to move away. That's when you need to attach the actual utility, which you can then build up and bring the excitement back. Now, development side, we cannot can control it, yes, but development takes time, of course, right? Then, of course, it won't be the way that we are just launching private sale and crowd sale and it will be an instant boom. We are working on the first people which are involved on it, but then again, we are doing it this way so we as a team get used to the actual admin work and not straight up pushing out a fully completed launchpad and then getting used to the admin work for a fully completed launchpad, right? Rather do this in steps and do it correctly over time than just pushing it out and then failing because you are not right well prepared for the actual management side there. And it comes a lot of management for this part. So we were thinking, all right, volume is also for the overall market at the moment very, very low. How can we tackle this, right? And the best way to do so is with Project X, giving BD Capital a risk-free way of getting involved. And this is a very, very exciting part. And then again, of course, other people, because I can tell this so far, it will not be launched on the BSC chain. It will be launched on another chain. And this is also a very exciting part, right? Because you are also tackling people which are, a lot of people are saying, don't want to invest into BSC, right? There are various reasons not to do so. But then again, a lot of people are taking this way. They say, no, don't want to invest into the BSC chain at all. I am sticking to these two other chains, right? So this is a very interesting part by itself. As I said before, cannot give out like details because we don't have them ready yet. We don't have the details ready yet. First thing to do is, of course, having the bulletproof contract ready after the development part and building the general idea around it, right? This is also coming from the branding side, and I can tell you we learned a lot from the branding side. We are talking to projects which are or have been able to get a lot of hype, like a serious amount of hype with special tactics they used. So a lot will come for Project X. And of course, the more successful Project X actually is, the better for BD Capital itself, right? So every single person which is already holding banks, congratulations if this project is a success, because then it might happen that the first distribution happening might be a rather big distribution. And of course, less holders actually receiving distribution, the more for every single individual here, right? So not that super bad for the bank's holders actually. Okay, but then again, as I said before, we cannot hand out too many details yet because it's still in the very, very rough conceptual place. But this is something which we are also aiming for, to bring excitement back into BD Capital, and also, of course, also bringing the attention of BD Capital to many, many more people in the progress of marketing and everything, gaining exposure for Project X. People will be aware that BD Capital is one of the main shareholders here, right? So very, very interesting part also for BD Capital. All right. So this from the fundamental side. Now, one thing, ecosystem. Talked a little bit about it already. Private sale and crowd sale platform are in development already, and development is looking very good at the moment. It is completely paid for already, so nothing to worry about this side. Once this is done, we will launch the private sale and crowd sale platform through our dashboard, which opens the possibility for projects to you could say get a listing there for a private sale or for a crowd sale. But of course, only projects which are willing to do a background check with us as a team. We won't publish any of the informations unless something shady is getting pulled off by the project. So kind of you could think of a deeper KYC with an actual vetting process attached to it, right? Because this is something which let's say, me personally, I'm very, very annoyed by this fact, right? That a lot of projects which seem to be fundamentally good and everything end up in being a rug pull, and no information is there for the people to maybe take legal steps as well. Will you do contract vetting as well, or KYC? KYC, not sure from the legal side yet, because you need to get the actual passport data and everything. Contract vetting, if you think about something like an audit, right? Hard, because let's say we do not want to put up a audit company and a KYC company yet. This might be involved in the fully fledged out launchpad, because in a launchpad it is always a good option to do so. But we are taking a look at the contract, right? And let's say, for example, they have a minting function in the contract. So for the people which are not that deep into contracts themselves, there is something called a minting function, right? Normally you have a certain supply for a crypto project. Let's say the supply is set at 1 million tokens in total. There is normally no chance to get your hands on more supply than the actual 1 million. If you have a minting function in your contract, the wallet which has access to the minting function can, for example, just go and mint 1 million additional tokens. There is a very, 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 very big risk involved in a minting function, because we saw this in Coyote happening, right? Coyote had a Certic audit. The core team was doxed. The only person which was not doxed, so basically they were doxed and they had KYC done with Certic additionally. Now the main problem they were facing was the contract developer, the person who made the contract for them. He wasn't KYC'd with Certic. He wasn't doxed. No one really knows who this person is. He got recommended to the team of Coyote as a contract dev, and he did put a minting function in the contract. If you take a look at the audit from Certic, we'll come back to this right in a second, Scott. If you take a look at the audit from Certic, regarding the minting function. They pointed it out, right? They flagged it as a potential risk, and they still got 90%, right? Because the contract dev gave Certic a explanation for the minting function, which did satisfy Certic themselves. So they did their job, right, as this audit company. Then again, the main problem in what was happening in the Coyote rug pull was that the contract dev had access to this minting function, not the actual team, at least for the information out there, not the actual team running Coyote had access to the contract, but only the contract dev. So what he did when Coyote added, like, what was it, 700k of liquidity at their launch, he basically minted a ton of tokens and sold them off completely, and basically rug pulled the whole project there. This is a risk which had various reasons for it to actually happen. And now the main problem they are facing is that no one knows who this contract dev really is. So basically, I guess it will be a very, very hard time for the authorities to actually track them down, because we are still in the crypto space. And yeah, now the team is sitting there with a rug pulled project, right? And this is something, even if you have the audit done and everything, but right, this is a part of the actual background check, especially for such a thing involving a private sale and everything. Something you could learn of for the vetting process. So everyone needs to be doxed at some point, right? Not for the public, but at least for certain persons there, and which are not involved in the team itself, right? This is an important part. And with this, it could have been avoided, because this contract dev who rug pulled Coyote, at this day he did rug pull several other projects as well, to my knowledge. I don't think he would have done it if someone actually had his identity, right? And this is why this background checks also give a little bit of difference there, right? Because if I, for example, take a look at a contract and I see a minting function and they want to, for example, launch through our launchpad, then I would definitely ask, why is this needed? Who has the control for it? Show me who has the control for it. And then the person who is in charge for this one, who is then effectively, of course, responsible for the things happening, that you need definitely the identity and everything for this person. So this, of course, in the future, yes, you can think of it kind of a way, yes, we are taking a look at the contract overall, but of course, one thing that would be nice is that they actually have an audit done, right, with a audit company. This would make things tremendously easier. All right, but for the KYC part, you can think of kind of an KYC, because this is one of the biggest things holding rug pulls back, right? The actual identity of anyone. And then again, also for a KYC, for example, since you are able most of the times to just record a video, you need to do certain things for the video itself, but then you are considered KYC'd, right? But I could just simply go and pay anyone in the world who needs the money to do the KYC for me. Yes, prerequisite should definitely be an audit of the contract, not only for the functions themselves, because you could just take a look at the contract and see the functions. This is no, let's say, big part of everything, but also from the security side, right? Because the contract at least needs to be checked for this normal loopholes you could have in a contract, and this is what an audit basically does. searches for this obvious security breaches and everything should be needed, and of course shows the owner functions, what functions does the owner actually have, right? And it should be a prerequisite. Otherwise, why would I launch a contract in which I am not 100% sure it is working, right? And the audit is actually checking for these parts. Okay, but yeah, coming back to the point, this is something which we saw, which is, since the crypto space is very yeah, let's say completely unregulated, you could call it the Wild West at the moment. Yeah, trying to make the space safer. Of course, we cannot give any guarantees that this is rug free or anything, right? Sometimes it comes down to certain individuals there. But then again, just trying to make things safer. They're getting very creative with how they rug nowadays. Was reading about one. Yeah. Sadly, they are getting more and more creative, right? Then again, as for example, something as Coyote itself, right? So for Coyote itself, it had a lot of potential. Honestly, they had a lot of potential. The team made a very freaking good job there in marketing everything, pre-launch and building the hype and everything up. They did a very very good job there. And even the contract dev, because as the dev of the contract, he was assigned, I think, what did they write me, 0.75% of the overall tax, which is a lot, right? Just for the contract dev, for doing the contract. I think he could have made way more money if he didn't rug it. And then again, if you see the history of the wallets there, of this contract dev, which he sent the rug BNBs to, you could see this was involved in other rugs happening the same day. This was involved in other rugs before this. In total, this dev was sitting on, I think it was more than 9 million in total, only in crypto. So many of the people think this was kind of his exit scam, right? He found a team which did give him too much trust. Some say that could be avoided by the team itself. Yes, that's true, but then again, they trusted him completely. So I also think this was kind of his exit scam. Now with Coyote as the big one, and several others as well happening. And yeah, there are some crazy things happening in the crypto world. I know from a contract dev. This is also why you should always pound on an actual audit, right? For a upcoming project. Just a little side notice there. You know of locks, like the liquidity locks and everything. The liquidity lock basically makes the liquidity pool, for example, our wrap BNB to banks pool, not accessible or accessible for anyone. Now there are contract devs which are able to write a loophole around it. So even if they lock the liquidity, they have a loophole to still access the liquidity directly. And this is why an audit is so important, because they are checking for this stuff, right? So even if it's a not audited contract, there is the option that there might be something in the contract which is even giving them a loophole around a lock of the liquidity, for example. And this is something which is kind of, I was shocked, right, when he told me this part. I was shocked about the different things they were able to do. No way to tell if the other team members weren't in on it as well, right? Honestly, this is just, let me just state my personal opinion there. I don't think so. I honestly don't think they have been involved in it actually. They're fully doxed, KYC'd with Certic and everything, right? They've done everything. And the main thing which did lead to the thing happening was too much trust and let's also say inexperience in the crypto space, right? Because that's what they also told me. So I was not with everyone in the team, but I was writing with one of the team members there, and he told me they are no devs by any means. So they did rely on the Certic audit. They got 90%, so they considered it as safe. Of course, they also trusted the dev, but then again, they were not aware of the fact that he has control over the minting function and everything. Nah, I honestly don't think anyone of the core team was in there, right? For doxed and KYC people, it's crazy they would give that much power to an anonymous person. The thing is with contract devs, right? They will remain almost all of the times completely anonymous, especially if you are outsourcing the contract creation. But then again, before launch, you just need to make sure that he has like literally no ownership of anything or no access to the minting function or something else. Like if they had done this, then it wouldn't have happened, right? Because it's normal to have this people anonymous, which is not like this. The main problem why this occurred, but the main problem was simply that they were not aware of the fact that he had access to the minting function, and this did lead to this very, very big rug pull happening, right? It is sad, very sad. But I personally don't think they were involved in it. Any way to write a contract that prevents a sudden huge drop in liquidity? You mean for a big sell happening in one go, or what do you mean exactly? If they are innocent, I feel terrible for them. I really do feel terrible for them because I think they are innocent, right? They are no crypto people, right? The whole team, they are no crypto people. They did a amazing job in the previous work before, but they are no crypto people, and I think this was the main problem appearing, because I think the contract dev, I think he was called Bullish, he noticed it and he took full advantage of it, right? He knew exactly what to do. He even satisfied Certic with his explanation of the minting function. So Certic still gave them 90%, and this is a very high percentage, right? Yeah, I think they were taken fully advantage of. But and again, it was the second time for the launch happening and everything, right? People are mad. They are mad with a reason as well, because all of this could have been avoided, not by doxing him or anything, but just by making sure that at least the actual owner only has access to the minting function, or a multisig wallet has only access to the minting function, right? This would have been simple steps to avoid all of this happening. But yeah, talking about it afterwards, you are always, how do you call it, smarter, right? Right. But very, very bad thing happening there. No, some people did lose like very, very serious money in Coyote, sadly. And some people even went like completely all in Coyote. Also, I also know this, and this is kind of the sad part happening. Yes, so say it can't drop by a certain amount in a single transaction. or group of smaller transactions over a short period of time to prevent the ability to rug pull. You are able to do it for cells, for normal cells happening. You can limit, for example, from the cell volume going off, you could then raise the tax, for example, so it is not that attractive for the people to sell, or you can limit the sell with the actual impact, right, with the percentage impact. But if you are talking about a rug pull, it also depends on which rug pull, because for you could have a ton of tokens and just use them to sell it off completely. Even if there is something written in the contract which prevents such things, you could always also add the option to free one wallet, for example. But many rug pulls also happening with direct access to the liquidity, because it is not locked, or there's a loophole to the lock, or something else like that. And this you cannot control if you pull out the liquidity directly. Ex-member of the banks community invited me over to Coyote. Glad I didn't. Yeah. When I was in the chat, I saw plenty of bankers in there. Glad you dodged the bullet there, right? Glad you dodged the bullet there. I dodged it myself, because I was whitelisted and everything. But after the first incident happening, I didn't want to take the risk for the second launch. This was my not because I didn't trust the team or anything, but it was, didn't want it. And then if you take a look at the audit as well, with the minting function and everything, like normally they wouldn't have needed a minting function, honestly, in the wallet. Okay. There was something, I think, which I missed here. I know you guys are not telling us which blockchain yet for Project X, and I also assume you guys are way ahead of me here. But I just want to put a bug in your brains. If Project X was launched on Algo, would there be some sort of benefit from doing so because of our fund being invested in Algo? No, not directly. Not directly, Scott. Because our fund is invested like in the blue chip there directly, but there wouldn't be like any direct benefit from it, right? Even if we launch on a chain which is currently, for example, not in the fund yet, it doesn't make any difference at all. Doesn't make any difference at all. But I can tell you it will not be BSC. This I can tell you with a lot of confidence. Okay. For anyone that is not aware, pink sale launches are not 100% clean. I watched a body get drugged directly on the pre-sale just a few days back. They wrote code in the contract to prevent claiming, then yanked all the pre-sale. Yes. There are codes out there, right? But you need to think of the fact, like the pink sale launchpad. It is just lines of code. And most of the times for any line of code, you could find a workaround or a loophole or anything. The same with, for example, liquidity locks. You can find loopholes and anything for this. So, yeah. Not cool, I know. And of course, always check how supply is divided. If a project has no staking or anything but a huge unallocated supply, they won't even need a mint function to rug. Yes, very important here also. If there are big amounts of unallocated supply, just coming back to Flamebull's point here, ask why they need it, right? If staking is involved, of course, for the staking pool, they need bigger amounts of supply there. But otherwise, they need to give like seriously good explanations there for this unallocated supply. And yes, they are smart, sadly, but very smart, right? It's just that these people are taking full advantage of the anonymity on the blockchain. And if they do it smart, it will be very, very hard to actually track them down, I can tell you. Like, seriously hard to track them down. That happened to me with Hunt BNB, lost 7 BNB. They deleted Telegram website, disappeared. Yeah. Sad to hear this, Chris. Sad to hear this. But stay safe out there. Like, make yourself, I honestly, this helps. Make yourself a little list of things. Like, do they have an audit? If they have an audit, actually take a look in the audit as well. Because if they have certain functions, as for example minting, ask why would you need a minting function, right? And they need to give a explanation which actually makes sense. Check the team as far as you can do. Of course, it's not super simple sometimes. Check for unallocated supplies and stuff like this. Just try to make it as safe as possible for yourself, right? Because your money is involved. And I can really advise you to just write up a little list there, which you can just simply tick off top to bottom and say, all right, this makes sense, this makes sense. Even if some things don't make sense, right? Sometimes there are explanations for it. For example, with us, right at the beginning, we weren't doxed. This was simply for the fact that we couldn't, right? Now I'm doxed, for example. AJ is doxed and everything. I was on the Crypto Junkie show and everything. My data is out there with the KYCs and everything. So it wouldn't take a long time for authorities to actually track me and catch me if for example, I pulled something shady off. But a lot of teams are not doing this, and yeah, I understand anonymity on the blockchain, but there needs to be a reason for it, right? There needs to be a reason for it. In the end, they want to build up a company, and they should be willing to show their face for the company, if it's possible. Wild, Wild West. Yes, exactly. Wild, Wild West. Can tell you guys. It's very wild out there. Okay, 2 minutes. Is there anything which is not clear? Any questions? Here, sorry, Chris. I did not look at it. When is the seed private sale? We will let you know. Don't worry about this one. We will let you know right before it. Very deep background check. Yes, very deep background checks. Who recommended him? They know. I'm not totally sure who recommended. The thing is, this contract dev Bullish, who was involved in Coyote, he was a known dev, right? He did work on some also pretty big projects out there, but I guess the main thing was, which enabled him to do this, the team was giving him too much trust, and he was able to yeah, to pull this off, sadly. I hear what? Where is it? If Paul does something stupid, his mom will hit. Oh yeah, can tell you. It's no secret, but a lot of my family are invested in banks. So I guess if I pull something shady off, my whole family will track me down. Don't worry about this part. You put that flip-flop off and whoop his ass. Oh yeah, I can tell you, will happen. And also my dad. As you all know. Nah, right? But I fly over and try every beer festival until I find you. Oh, this would be bad times for me, I can tell you. Nah, there's like seriously nothing to worry about. As you all know, for example, we had a golden week in the past running. This was very, very early. We made a mistake there with the contract. We did set the fees of the contract to 0. but our contract is not able to handle a 0 fee. So if you set the fee to 0 there, the contract is basically creating a honeypot. So really, you are not able to sell anything because the contract wants to sell off, but with 0 fees, it is not able to sell off, right? This is a flaw in the contract itself, because normally you should be able to turn off certain taxes completely, but this tax you were not able to turn off. Now I can tell you it was, it was crazy, right? Because we had this golden week running, and like at some point the chat was like going crazy, right? And I checked the chat and I was like, huh? What's going on? But people told, oh, it's a scam, it's a rug, can't sell, right? Yeah, I tell you, it was crazy. We were able to solve this issue very quickly, but then again, this was like, this is the difference. This was a mistake, right, and not intention. So, and nah, if we wanted to rock, we would have done already. There's no reason to put that much work into this. It was another example of how you guys operate. That's how you build trust. Yeah, definitely. I remember the people went like crazy. But of course, right? This is nothing which you can blame them for. But it was really crazy in the chat. It was exploding. And then you need to really figure it out first, right? Because then you need to take a look at the contract, and then you need to find the issue first. What is causing this issue? Because everything was running smoothly before it, and then you need to track the steps you took backwards, right? You need to see, all right, we changed this, we changed this, we changed this. Might this cause the issue? And it was crazy. Mr. Bukas, yes. Sorry, don't want to pay into the jar. Thank you all for this armor. This was a fun one, a very fun one. We covered some very, very nice topics here, and yeah, we will hear each other again. I will introduce this passive income stream. I will build the fund up myself with being late, right? All right. Yes, Bimbus will do. Thank you all for participating. We will hear each other again tomorrow, right? Tomorrow for the Fund AMA. Maybe I have something ready then for Project X, which I might share, might not share. Don't know yet, right? Don't be mad if I'm not able to share any details, but yeah, thank you all. No, Balboa, we are lucky to have you in here. We love our community, I can tell you. Core community are very great people in here, can tell you guys. All right, but we will hear each other again tomorrow, and have a nice rest of the day, start in the day, whatever time zone you're sitting in. And thank you all for participating, right? Thank you, and bye-bye, people.